Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing? This is a penultimate session, so good morning. Yes, wonderful. You're all awake. That's wonderful to see. I think we've got an exceptional panel here, a combination of owners, hotel operators, and hospitality management. And it's my envious task to get the maximum out of our panel here today. I really like the diversity of where they're based, where they currently operate in, but they all have one mission in mind, and that is expanding into Africa, whether it's Northern Africa, whether it's West, East, or South Africa. I'm really looking forward to this discussion. I think we've got a great panel. What I'm going to ask you, gentlemen, each one of you, starting with you, Mr. Anand, I'm going to ask you to briefly introduce yourself, but tell us a little bit about your operation so that we can get to grips with exactly what you do, and then we will head off into our discussion. So if you could just do a brief introduction there, please, Ezana.
So we've created a brand which is a lifestyle brand out of Dubai, and we have about 7 greenfield projects out of Africa, which is Zimbabwe, Cote d'Ivoire, Uganda, and Nigeria. The Nigerian hotel should be ready in about 6 to 8 months. We're focusing on growing the brand in Europe, potentially North African markets like Morocco, also Turkey in Levant, and certain markets like eastern part of Africa. We're purely a very simple lifestyle brand which caters to an upscale 3 and a 4-star. We started with the first property in Dubai, and now we're close to about 2,000 keys. The pipeline is still a bit wide because the only regions we are focusing on is Middle East, Europe, and Africa at this point.
Wonderful. Wonderful to have you on board. And of course, Ezana, if you can do exactly the same, introduce yourself and the company and your operations.
I own a company called Anyana Hospitality. We're building the first boutique hotel in Ethiopia, designed by a very experienced designer, Tarek Kigazi from Living Design. So we're trying to build a brand that is incorporated with local infused culture, ideologies, and just a thriving environment, because Ethiopia has so much opportunity. The economy is really growing, and we're trying to provide for that need. So we're on the finishing stages of the property, and I think we'll be done in the next 6 months.
Wonderful. Yeah. Great having you. And Chike, if you could do exactly the same, please.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. We are Mac-Folly Hospitality. We're out of Lagos, Nigeria. We are a company that has a larger group of companies, which is the CFAX group of companies. We're into shipping, we're into marine, we're into oil and gas, we're into aviation, we're into power as well. And in 2015, we ventured into hospitality. And we dreamt of having the best hotel in Lagos, and we had to choose a partner to actualize this dream. And it tallies with what we are talking about today, global partnerships. And I think we went for the best, the biggest and the best, which is the Marriott brand. And we sat down with Marriott, and from the conception in 2015, we were able to deliver a first-class experience, as I will call it, because I don't call it an hotel. What we have in Ogeah in Lagos, the Lagos Marriott Hotel. And we definitely changed the landscape of hospitality in Lagos after that. Of course, as it is, while we were developing the brand, because like we said, hospitality, especially in Nigeria, it's what I would call the new oil. We started looking beyond oil because we found out that we haven't really done much with the revenues we've been earning from oil. So we kind of, with the new government we have in place in Lagos, Nigeria, we kind of thinking of diversifying our economy. We're looking at tourism, we're looking at aviation, we're looking at hospitality. You know, we are trying to get our security right, because you see, these are the things that enable tourism and can make tourism strive. Of course, technology is very important in that. And we found all of this with what we are doing in Ikeja with Marriott Hotels. And like I said to the organizers of this
Great.
massive summit.
Thank you, Chike. We're going to delve into the conversation in great depth now. So, Alban, if you could just do the introduction.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. So I looked after the development for United Hospitality Management. We are the hotel arm of Kuwaiti conglomerate. We started our hotel activity and hospitality activities 30 years ago, being Kuwaiti actually in Portugal in the Algarve region. And we position ourselves as the owner-operator. So we own and operate more than 15 assets, which represent roughly 2,000 keys. So across Portugal, in the Algarve region, in Lisbon and Porto. And we also extended our activities here in the Middle East, especially in the UAE, where we have a portfolio of 6 hotels. We very recently acquired a new property in GLT. And we today looking at growing our portfolio, obviously still in the region, but with a big focus in Africa, especially because historically the group had a small presence in sub-Saharan Africa, in South Africa. We still have a small land bank there, so we're definitely looking at entering Africa, and we're a deep believer in the hospitality industry in Africa.
Excellent, thank you, Alban. And Jamil.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Fantastic to see so many people here on the second day. So, a quick introduction. The DR Group is a Dubai-based investment company, which I'm a principal of, and City Blue was founded within that 13 years ago with a view to create a fast-growth hospitality chain across sub-Saharan Africa initially. The focus was really initially on the mid-market and upper mid-market, which is started in Rwanda, then opened in Uganda, subsequently in Kenya in 2017, and now we're open in Tanzania with about 750 keys operating and about 750 to open next year, including our first venture into West Africa, where we'll be opening in Ghana. City Blue has aspirations to be a Pan-African brand, so we have East Africa and West Africa now in terms of our offices and growth, but we have entered into a venture with Dream Hotels in Southern Africa on a collaborative basis, which is what this discussion is all about.
Yep.
And we've also become the hospitality partner of the National Museums of Kenya within Kenya to showcase culture. Our mission is to democratize travel within sub-Saharan Africa and to celebrate the diversity of Africa, which a lot of people outside don't often fully understand.
Great, wonderful. So let's get into the task at hand, transformation of African hospitality. I'm going to start off with you, JS, if you don't mind. I mean, you're definitely a leader in hotel management, LEVA. Let's unpack, what are the critical factors when designing and planning hospitality projects in Africa? I mean, how do global partnerships help overcome regional challenges such as infrastructure deficits and technology gaps? Do you want to maybe just elaborate?
See, first of all, you have to understand each market differently. Let's say, for example, Nigeria or Cote d'Ivoire or Ghana. You don't have basic hospitality products in this market. You don't have in Zimbabwe. You don't have an upscale 3-star or a 4-star, which you can define as, markets like Zimbabwe don't even have a luxury product. So there are different parts of Zimbabwe like Bulawayo, Vic Falls, and Harare. I think there's a lot of need in not focusing on getting fancy chandeliers and fancy products. I think we need to get the basic of hospitality right, in the sense getting the right people on board. If you're getting a consultant locally, make sure you collaborate with an international architect, because you need to know how to design, how to do space allocation within a hotel. Biggest challenge, critical factors is procurement. I think Africa has a lot of potential to produce within Africa than trying to get products from outside of Africa, because they have the people. And the most important aspect is human capital. Human capital is available, but we need to pay them the right salaries at the same time, give them the right training. You don't have training hospitality schools. You don't have the right infrastructure. So, and the gap between the rank and file and the mid-level management is too wide in terms of salaries. So I think there are different factors that define getting the right product into the market. I've had challenges in every single market where I've seen that even the basics of hospitality are not being practiced. So we really need to first come up with good, decent, mid-scale hotels with the right kind of concepts and not focusing on luxury or upscale products.
I think it's very enlightening, and that you've identified that within Africa, because our challenges are very different, Ezana. So, and also, Chike, we'll get to you. What unique advantages does Africa offer global hospitality brands looking to expand? So let's look at how can African hospitality owners leverage these opportunities while also maintaining a balance of global standards and global authenticity, given what J.S. just said in terms of those challenges. How do we do that?
So I always say that Africa is the sleeping giant of the world right now, and I think it's really a gem that has not been tapped. So I also say it's the last piece of the puzzle when it comes to hospitality. So a lot of other countries have been developed. When it comes to Africa, we have a rising population, large numbers of urbanization, economic growth, like we have double-digit economic growth. A lot of the fastest growing economies are in Africa. So I think there's a huge potential for foreign brands to come and dive deep into the market. I would also say that when you look into the markets available, we have a very young population. So the labor is very cheap, and you just have to team up with international brands to learn from international experiences and keep the local authenticity. And I think if you do that, then it will be a really good synergy that you could build something beautiful. Because to be honest, we do have an authentic travel experience in Africa that you cannot replicate anywhere else.
Okay, wonderful. So Chike, you mentioned in your introduction, and you've mentioned that hospitality management is you put it on the same level as oil, in particular in Nigeria. So let's talk a little bit in terms of procurement, sourcing. What challenges do African hospitality businesses face when securing quality materials and services, most important, and how can global partnerships help mitigate these procurement challenges and support local chains? Now, we don't want a situation where we want somebody to bring in all the employment and bring everything from outside. We want to use local employment. Your thoughts around that?
Thank you. I think what is key that we have to understand first and foremost is that though Africa is seen as homogeneous, but there are so many little Africas, and we all have our own unique local experiences. So basically, of course, I'll be speaking from my experience in Nigeria, and that's why I said to you that hospitality is new, is developing, is the new oil, and all of that. But what we have done at the Lagos Marriott Hotel is that we have chosen a fantastic partner with Marriott. And, Marriott, as a global brand of hotels, has the whole 9 yards, training, procurement, everything is in place. So we have keyed into all of that, And with the experience of the property we had developed that we finished in 2021, what we did is that from while we were building the properties, we were working with the Marriott Hotel all through the design, through the construction, through the procurement, and we're trying to do everything at the same time so we could save enough time, and we were able to deliver the project on time. And I dare say that these global partnerships are the way forward, especially for Africa, because the time for hospitality in Africa, like we all have agreed, is now. And what the global partnerships do for us is that we have this great synergy where we all understand, what we bring to the table. We respect our boundaries. We let them do what they do best. We engage with the regulatory authorities and do what we do best to make sure the operations are smooth. And that way, everything is facilitated because, like in the question you asked, with the case of procurement, we try to make sure we grow a local content to that, and they understand that. So what they do is that they bring their template, for how we can do all of that, and we get the local people involved as well. We get our local artisans involved as much as we also want, international, so that we can have them set the standard. And that way, we start to train our own people. And by the time we finish that property, we have a pool of workers that we have impacted upon that will help us because we're in the process of developing a second property. And we are doing that right now.
Great opportunity. So, Alban, you're mainly in the focus at the moment, Europe, Middle East, but your development obviously across Middle East and Africa being your focus now. So how do you assess the potential for global hospitality brands in Africa? I mean, what key factors make Africa really a viable market for these brands? And how can strategic partnerships drive mutual success?
Yeah, to complement on my introduction, I mean, we, as I said, we own today in portfolio, we have 15 assets that we own. And we actually 2 years ago decided to flip those hotels from brand managed to being owner-operator. So we set up the whole structure and started our own operation. In partnership with the brands, we have partnership with all the global brands today, being Marriott, IHG, Accor, and others. But we decided to review the way we would operate our properties. Now, when it comes to Africa, if we look at in terms of where we would go and the way we would approach the African market, obviously having a base in Portugal, we would service our operation out of Portugal, especially for the North Africa region. Being also in Dubai, that would ease for the, I would say, East Africa and eventually also later on to Sub-Saharan Africa. Now, working again, the way we look at approaching our development for Africa today might be a bit different than other third-party management company, in the sense that we look at positioning ourselves more at like strategic alliance level. We want to find the right partner with whom we can definitely partner, look over the long term, and bring the expertise that we have, value creation, and obviously also have the opportunity to work with the brands that we want, depending on where we are, and obviously where we want to go. There are destinations in Africa that are very less represented in terms of brands. I mean, if you take Darla in Morocco, you would see the destination has completely boomed over the last years, and you have probably, you may have some upcoming supplies, but as of today, you have no operating hotels that are, I would say, internationally branded. So we also believe in an approach where we could work and where we would want to work, and actually, we're very recently going to announce something in this direction on another continent, but we want to have the ability to create value at the local scale and create partnership with local or regional organization, local chain, and bring our resources, but make that contributing to the local market and the local ecosystem.
Great. Jamil, I want you, I mean, you're operating in East Africa there, so, and you know, you've got big expansion plans. And so maybe you tell us the unique advantages of Africa and, you know, has to offer global hospitality brands. How do you see it from your perspective?
Sure. So it's very interesting to listen to the other panelists because everyone has a unique perspective based on the geography. And as I think Chike said, Africa's many things to many people. In our case, you know, we're operating in 4 countries, and even within each country, there are nuances. The way of business, the way the environment is and the ecosystem is, whether it's from procurement or systems or recruitment or training or revenue management or design, is completely different, for example, in Mombasa to the way it is in Nairobi. And in other countries, we have exactly the same issue. So firstly, one has to grapple with the diversity. I think, secondly, I agree with some of the comments in terms of having strategic partnerships between other parts of the world or other organizations. But I think at the same time, one has to understand that Africa's problems are to be solved by understanding the issues within the continent. And because we operate not in the 5-star space, but in the spaces below the 5-star space, and we're focused on location, affordability, technology, and service, I think we understand that in order to deliver, we have to have a very strong brand, a very strong service culture. We have to understand our people. We have to understand intra-African business, which is now on the up, whether it's in business or leisure. And you know, we have to understand that coming out of COVID, where we didn't have any support from the government, we didn't have any support from anybody in any of the countries we were operating in, we had to understand that actually what got us through was local business. And that's where the future lies. It's the middle class and the upper middle class, the growing communities on this continent of 1 billion plus people, that actually is where the future lies. So one has to make decisions, I think, not just based on what the big brands tell you, but also in solving Africa's problems.
Great, thank you for that. It's such an important comment. Jace, do you want to add to that?
I think global partnerships are important, definitely, but you need to identify where they are important. Bigger doesn't mean it's better. A bigger brand which has all the bells and whistles does not mean it's better. There are a lot of local companies, lovely companies in the African continent which are doing really well, which should be given an opportunity. And you need to understand each market differently. So for example, if a global brand brings in all the verticals, doesn't mean it's cost effective, doesn't mean it's going to be the right partner. You need to identify what you need, and I think the ownerships should be involved themselves in procurement than leaving it up to the brand, because there are a lot of middlemen involved in the middle. So by the time the product reaches you, it will cost you an arm and a leg. So you have to really get involved and not depend and say, oh, I'm going to go for a global partnership in totality. You have to go into what you really need.
Knowledge on the ground. I mean, Ezana, I can see both of you nodding sagely there.
Agree.
Also, Chike, you want to add to that?
I think travelers nowadays are...
Yeah, he doesn't pay people on time. He says, you know, give it to me for free. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
But I think travelers nowadays see traveling in a completely different way. So it's not just a normal way of just opening your door, going to sleep, but they want this very local, interactive kind of service, I feel like. And they want to really understand the local culture, local cuisines, the local, something infused with what is present in the city they're in.
You've got to infuse it, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we have to be quite unique. It can't just be global partnerships and bring everything from Europe, everything from America, from China. It has to be incorporated with the local culture, but in ways where we can bring synergy. I think synergy is very, very important. We can bring technology, we can bring different ways of management, but it is Africa at the end of the day, and you really can't change the way things are done.
See, the best thing about Africa is their human capital. They have fantastic human capital, but they don't have the training. That's what they need. Don't try and get expats into the African market and say they're going to do a better job. There's enough Ugandans, Ethiopians, Nigerians who are fantastic at what they do.
I agree. I agree totally with you. And that was exactly what I was saying before. So it's a synergy these global partnerships bring what they bring best. And of course, the local entity also does the same thing. It's like needing two hands to clap, and you make it happen that way because, just like you said, every jurisdiction has its own peculiarities. And what we tend to do in Lagos is that, for instance, in the case of our procurement, we are totally in charge of our procurement. We even get our procurement done well ahead before, we really go into the construction. We go, because we've sat down with the Marriott people, we know what we need, and we start doing that. Like I said to you, we're in shipping, we're in all of that. So we bring all our synergies in, and that helps us with the time and the turnaround of what we're doing. But just like he also said, they have this great training template they can bring, and they can pass it down to our people. And we are creating a pool of skilled artisans in Nigeria, yes.
Actually, we are building a hotel which is completing in 6 months right across his property 50 feet away.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So I want to bring in Alban and Jamil because is there a case study? Is there one that demonstrates that diversity of culture, embracing that Africanism? And when you kind of decide as part of the strategy, when you're designing, developing project, is there an example of one that's probably worked? I don't know. Jamil, Alban, do you want to comment on that?
I would totally agree with the rest of the panelists. For us, at the moment, we don't have operation as such in Africa, but that's definitely the way we look at it, and that's why we decided 2 years ago to change from brand managed to being our own operator, and that's why we're looking at extending our business in this direction, because we want to take, I would say, the best of the big brands eventually, and then bring that, but still have the control directly on the operation, and also because those big brands we see today heavily investing into the system, the brands, the distribution, and so on. The loyalties, actually, that is also a very nice tool to leverage. But yet we also want to have this ability, and that's what we're looking for, to have like a local partner that where we know that by partnering with such individuals, we would embrace the local community, the market where we are and where we are operating. That's the vision we have. That's what we've done in Portugal. That's what we duplicated here in a slightly different way. But that's definitely, and I would say the third point is probably also, and the panel before touched base on that, is domestic tourism in Africa. That is extremely, extremely important. You have countries such as Nigeria, Egypt, that has a very, very dense population, and providing and giving also the needs for like hospitality and hotels product that may differ from what the big brands are doing today is also something where you can see a lot of value creation and very interesting partnership, I would say, on a more like local approach.
Okay. Jamil, do you want to answer?
I think perhaps the best way of answering that question from our perspective is just how we've had to evolve with sub-brands within our portfolio. So we've ended up starting with as I mentioned earlier, with a vision to have a Pan-African hospitality chain. But today we have a branded residences division. We have a boutique hotel division. We have a business budget division. And then we have the City Blue Collection brand, which is sort of a brand which allows a sort of curated experience with a property that perhaps is already a well-known name in the market or ecosystem where it exists. So these are providing solutions to African issues, and that's how we've gone about our growth and sort of formed and evolved our brand structure and identity as we have expanded more and more across the continent.
Okay, great. Okay, I want to turn the conversation slightly to technology. Okay, so technological innovation. And we heard earlier on about AI. I believe there's a lot of hype around AI. In South Africa, we actually host a number of PropTech events, so we're very close to what's happening in AI. And so yes, there is a lot of hype, but it's not an AI discussion. Let's talk about technological innovation and how it is transforming hospitality worldwide and with an African focus. So what are the And I'm asking the panel here, and obviously I'm conscious of time, or maybe I can steal some extra time because the last panel did, but maybe what are some of the more significant technological advancements you see shaping the African hospitality industry, and how have global partnerships played a role? I'm starting with you, Jas, maybe you can comment on that.
We have the same systems that we use in terms of paperless check-ins, PMS systems, stuff like concierge. We don't believe that technology should be utilized right to the T in terms of not having a check-in counter or not having a receptionist, because the human touch is very important. Technology, you have to understand how much technology can be used and where. So whether you call it insanity, but it's artificial intelligence, or whatever you call it, the bottom line is, listen, hospitality is people.
Yes.
Utilize it where it's required. Don't utilize it just because it exists.
Yeah.
So we use it to the bare minimum where our hotels require it. And I think there are some restrictions in getting some programs into Africa which need to be vetted by the government first.
Exactly.
So that's just a bit of a challenge. But otherwise, we have just gone for what makes sense.
Absolutely. We can't lose that African culture, can't we? I mean, a machine can't do that for us, right? Ezana?
Yeah, I definitely do agree, because I think the whole point of African hospitality is the human touch.
Yeah.
We are we are communal. I can speak about Ethiopia, but Ethiopians are very communal. We love to serve. We love to take care of our guests. So I think if technology gets in the way of that, what do the travelers have to experience? Nothing. It's not authentic. And nowadays, the travel requires authenticity. So I feel like we need to limit technology where it needs to be limited, and really focus on real service and the human touch, like you said. So
Wonderful.
I do agree.
Chike, you want to add to that?
Yes, and I totally agree with my brother here. In Africa, we are all about community, and that is very important. But the good thing about technology is that they help you save time. The normal things they do. So you can't replace the human being with technology. Definitely, you just use them. Innovation, technology, they help you with your service delivery. So you employ them to that extent. But that human touch, people want to meet real people. I have situations where I'm somewhere else in Lagos and some people are checking into the hotel and they are looking for me. Where are you? And that I'm not around is a problem. So sometimes I have to make my way back to the hotel. So I will meet with them, talk to them. Africa, we are like that. We are warm people. Yes. So,
Wonderful.
but of course, technology is crucial.
Good. Alban, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, technology is key, and we see all the big operators are heavily investing into that. So if we look at global brands, that's the way. Now looking at Africa, obviously you have and I'm sure for the countries I had the chance to visit, you have a very strong ecosystem of young talent, young startups that are obviously also coming to take some shares in the games. So that's one. There's also something that I've started to think of over the last few months, and when we see is probably if we look at not at the front, but I would say more the back of the industry, is we know that financing and funding can be a challenge in Africa. When we see today, let's say, if you look at, for example, cryptocurrencies, when you look at how it's evolving, eventually would that be one day possible to fill the gap in funding and to contribute into hospitality project for Africa, where we know that funding can be challenging? That's still a question mark, but I think that's something that it's worth having the question today and eventually looking at how we can bring the solutions to that.
Okay. Jamil?
I think we have to have an eye constantly on technology, all the changes, all the advances. I mean, when City Blue began, there were no OTAs that we were using 12 years ago, whatever. Today, we can't live without a global distribution system, investing constantly to try to compete with our neighbors who are Marriott and Hilton and IHG and everywhere else in the markets that we operate in. So we have to be ahead of the curve. But I think today, perfect Wi-Fi has become the staple. That's a very key thing in the markets we're in. We've recently put Starlink as our backup, which demonstrates that in our markets on the continent, no matter how much you invest and how much you try, some things go wrong. And the good thing is Starlink is now advancing very well across the African continent as a backup. So we have to constantly, we have a technology arm that helps support, but we also have to, that's where global partnerships also come in. Having relationships with very strong hardware, software, and tech and AI partners, particularly in Dubai, has helped us.
Right. Okay, so I'm very conscious of time. We've got the Grim Reaper waiting over here. So I just want to know, is there a question? Okay, I'm going to take one question before I ask our panel. They're going to give a wrap-up after this. I'm only going to take one. I see the lady over there. Just please put up your, sorry, I can't see so well. There is the microphone. Is there a roving mic that we can just get? Yeah. Sorry, just put up your hand and just your name and your question, please. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Leanne Singer. Since we represent so many different countries, I'd like to find out how do we handle the payment gateways. It's a massive problem across the African continent for us to accept different types of payments. In some countries we can use credit cards, in others we can't. In some cash is king, others it's not. Personally, as a hotel owner and having to use OTAs, having to take payments internationally, having to deal with VAT issues to pay the OTAs, how is it being handled by the representatives from the different countries?
All right, so who wants to have a crack at that one?
I think Jamil knows how to move money, so.
Well, we try our best. I mean, we partnered with DPO, which is a Pan-African-based payment gateway that receives currency in every currency, hard and local currencies, as well as M-Pesa, which is our local way of transacting. So we do. I mean, there's a price to pay for it, and they're a very large payment company, but they do integrate with our back end. But you're absolutely right. Like in Uganda, people pay with cash. In Rwanda and Kenya, everything is pretty much cashless. And how do you deal with that? How do you control it? How do you systemize it? It's complicated.
Yeah. No, not one silver bullet, isn't it? Okay, so what I'm going to do, time is up. I'm going to ask our panel to give their final wrap. Gentlemen, not longer than, say, 30, 45 seconds, if you don't.
45 minutes? I think Africa is a great market, great potential. Identify what you need to do, have some patience. Decisions don't come overnight. They take a long time. I don't know, these guys have a lot of board meetings. I don't know what, but decisions take a lot of time, but definitely people are wonderful, culture is great. Identify the right markets within East and the West, and every market is different. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Ezana?
I'll continue with that. I think every market is different. I can talk about Ethiopia, but I would say right now the amount of change coming into Africa is actually quite shocking for me as well. Every month I see a difference. Every 2 months I'm shocked. I step out of the country. Probably when I go back to Ethiopia, there's going to be something different. So it's actually scary. There's so much opportunity. And I think if us Africans are willing to really build the hospitality industry, I think Africa is the future.
Well, I would like to just quickly go back to what she said. From our experience, these are where global partnerships come to the fore again. In the case of Marriott, we have all kinds of payment systems. It's mostly cashless. We have the Bonvoy, the loyalty program, and all those things. So they all work seamlessly in Lagos. We have different kinds of payment modes. But like my brother says, in summation, Africa, it's time for Africa. I remember when it was the World Cup in South Africa, and there was that, I think it went Kinako, or, in local dialect, which means the time is now. So I say to everybody, please, find some time, choose a destination anywhere in Africa, and come and enjoy our wonderful hospitality. It is time for Africa. Thank you.
Great.
No, yeah, a lot, tons of opportunities, definitely. For us, being at I would say, more the beginning of our growth journey for Africa is, yes, as identifying the right destination, the right partner, but also learn from the people we're partnering with. Obviously, respect is key. We're talking about partnership, long-standing partnership and relationship. So it's really, yes, learning, obviously, and giving more than what we take in return. That would be the approach for us.
Yeah.
I think my final comment would just be that, we're sitting here in Dubai, so let's also recognize the importance of Dubai to Africa. In all the countries that we're operating, there are direct flights every day. Rwanda, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Ghana, and Nairobi's only a 4-hour flight. So you're all welcome. Come and stay at City Blue. We'd love to host you. Thank you.
Great stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, I think put your hands together for our panel. I'm not going to mention more by name. Ezana, Kirubel, Chike, Ogeah, Alban, Mabille, Poncheville, and Jamil, Virgie. Thank you very much.